And even later on, Mr. Williams, and I believe that this was in 2019, made a post to YFN Lucci or Rayshawn Bennett. If I ain't like what you do for your mother and kids, I would have been you.
Shout out to the mom saving their son's life, man. Yo, hearing this read, like, right before the judge sentenced you.
And in yet another song entitled Anybody, Defendant Williams stated, I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body. I got the streets on my back, carry it like I'm moving a body. I told them to shoot 100 rounds like he trying to movie the body.
Damn.
Ready for war like I'm Russia. I get all types of cash. I'm a general.
Yo, chat. Y'all do like when y'all rappers live the raps, right? Yo, you know what this made me think? And all bullshit aside, and I want to have a real moment with y'all, right? And I'm not going to make this too much of a long sidebar as we're listening to this. You see, us fans, we're the biggest hypocrites, right? If you rap, we want rappers to rap about shit, don't live it, but it to either sound real or feel real enough. But we monitor all their beefs to see if they're really beefing with those people. We love to see, oh shit, something happened. But the reality is this, right? Number one, we don't care about victims, right? Like, this is hip hop, we're hypocritical. We don't care who dies. We just want the famous nigga who make good music to live and be free. Let's keep it a beat. We over here saying free Dirk. We don't care about Lil Pop's family. Respectfully. I'm not saying actually don't. We just said fans don't think about Lil Pop's family and maybe they want justice, right? You're like, yo, we didn't know who Lil Tim was, but we like, yo, damn, why could anybody else die but King Von? Fans and how we perceive law and crime and justice is very disfigured and disoriented from actual reality because our moral basis, no matter, like, I don't think no fan is like a horrible person, but when it comes to our entertainers, we're very hypocritical, right? These songs, like, first of all, I ain't gonna lie to you, Dirk's music went up by, like, right now it's at, like, I think 60 or 70% it's been up since his murder, right? You know why it's up? Because everybody's realizing he wasn't just rapping, even though a lot of people knew before he wasn't just rapping. But now these lyrics hit a little bit harder. You listen, this is why people drill rap. We listen more when we think it's real. So these guys, you know, we love to be hypocritical, like, no, they're just expressing themselves. Every time people say that, yo, lyrics shouldn't be used in court, Lil Tecca lyrics won't ever be used in court. But some niggas who's living the life and who's doing the shit that they seemingly are rapping about, it might get used in court. So we're kind of hypocrites in that nature. And I don't know if we acknowledge that we're hypocrites because here's a reality. If we all love these guys and hope they're smart gangsters, but if Young Thug was doing half the things he was proclaiming to do and he was charged with doing, he should have never been rapping like this. He should never have been posting on social media like this. But it kind of adds to the image and the aura that fans buy in. So, you know, like, I'm looking at this with them reading the lyrics and I'm like, yeah, if I was really getting niggas killed, I probably wouldn't rap about killing people. However, they're feeding that insatiable thirst by fans. Fans want that shit. Y'all, like, King Von's family is forever going to get a $3 to $5 million royalty check every year just off of his streams, old music. I'm going to tell you why. Because fans are obsessed with knowing that this guy was as real as it gets. And when you listen to his lyrics is the epitome of a real life story. We don't give a fuck about the victims who died. We don't give a fuck about the people who got shot in their head. And I'm not talking about Wooski, respectfully. We're just talking about anybody. We're so wrapped up with the thought of we like this rapper, we don't even care about victims, right? Like, I remember even with the 6ix9ine situation, this is before he snitched. When you listen to who Nine, they said Shotty and them hopped out the car, shot someplace up, and a woman got hit. Man, you ain't thinking about that chick. You're like, man, that shit does make Billy go sound harder, right? So again, we're hypocrites when it comes to this. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, if there was no music associated with this, we would say these are disgusting charges and disgusting allegations. But to be honest, when we hear about this with the rappers we like, we listen to the music and we like, this shit fire. Even more fire. Somebody said, who's we? All of y'all, man. Put it like this, man. Nigga, we sat here and watched that YNW Melly trial. Come on, we want that nigga out. Yo, we want that nigga out. Like, nobody's thinking about how those families feel, like, respectfully. Like, we're like, nah, we love his music. Yo, a true fan will say, fuck a victim. We just want to, it's like let me not bring into some sexual weird shit. I was gonna say, like, it's like R. Kelly fans. R. Kelly fans ain't thinking about them chicks who said they were locked up in the Kelly dungeon. Man, that nigga made bump and grind, man. Made 12 play. Bring him back home. Young Thug made Barter 6. It's lit. Somebody says, not we, you. No, that's not true. Because everybody who's proclaiming free Thug or is happy that Thug, there's not one person who's saying, damn, this is not true. And this is why I think that's why Charleston White has a lane. Not one person is saying, damn, well, what about justice for the people who got shot on Cleveland Avenue? There's several murders charged in this indictment. Nobody's doing life. Nobody's actually getting any real punishment. Nobody's actually saying, what about justice for them? You know what everybody's saying? Young Thug free. So don't say it's a collective sense when it comes to hip hop. You don't see nobody saying, hey, I hope people are held accountable. Like, think about Dirk's situation. Nobody's saying, I hope, if nobody's cutting it down the line and say, if Dirk did that shit, man, keep that nigga. Nobody ain't saying that. That's where Charleston White comes in. Because when you go that line, they call you a sellout, right? They do call you a sellout, right? Like, no one, when talking about this case, we're talking about Jeffrey Williams' freedom. Nobody's talking about, damn, if any of these niggas actually did kill Donovan Nutt Thomas, them niggas deserve to get the chair. Nobody's saying that. Who's saying that? So y'all tell me the person who's saying that. Name me one person who said, damn, let's pray for the family. He was locked up for the death of, primarily, Donovan Nutt Thomas. Name me one person who said, man, pray for Donovan Nutt Thomas' mom, who had to sit through a year of this proceeding to find out that nobody ain't going to jail. Nobody ain't saying that. So don't say act is just you, because you don't have no empathy for victims when there's a famous rapper or a famous celebrity accused. You get what I'm saying? Like we got to stop the selective. No, we all on the same page, right? And those people usually go away and they become unknown and unnamed, and they go and they deal with their grief and do it the way they do it. And maybe they come up with some money with a civil suit or something like that. But by and large, what ends up happening is that not one person. Listen, when niggas are saying free Thug, like, play this. Is any of y'all saying free? Are y'all saying free Dirk because y'all like, man, Dirk can't do that shit? Or are you saying, man, fuck that, free Dirk? I don't care what y'all niggas saying. Because nobody's actually like really splitting hairs saying, nah, free Dirk, I think he ain't do it. But if he did do it, man, keep that nigga. Nobody ain't saying that. Everybody's just saying bring that nigga home, regardless if he did it or not. Let's just be clear. Like, us rap fans, like, we don't got no morality in music. I don't think rap fans are immoral. We don't have fandom and morality don't go together. By the way, fandom is something that is usually of the devil. You know, it's if you go back to, not to get all biblical with you, but it's a reason why, you know, if you look back in biblical times, when people used to create false idols and used to, you know, have these false prophets or false things that they would worship other than God, that's why they said God is a jealous God. What do you think being a super fan of a celebrity is? It's like the same thing. It's like you've created a deity, a guy who could do no wrong, that we're all celebrating and praising. So the shit kind of happens. That's what I'm trying to say. Fandom and morality don't go together. And also, the last thing I'm going to just challenge y'all with, half of these cases I be watching, bro, just true to the core. Like, again, I'm a fan too, so I'm not talking to y'all like I'm talking down to y'all. There's a couple times I'm watching these cases, I'm like, this nigga definitely did it, but still free that man. Because I do like the artist. And I don't have a physical connection or a emotional connection to the victim. I don't feel the pain that they're feeling. I'm not going through what they're feeling. But if you've watched enough of these cases, y'all know deep down in y'all core, despite if we're arguing about evidence here and there, deep down in your core, if somebody be like, you think he did it? You're like, nah, he did do that shit. But, nah, that's my nigga though. Come on. Like, y'all know y'all be thinking that too. Like, deep down, y'all like, did he do it? Y'all be like, yeah, that nigga did do that shit, bro. But, that's my nigga though. Just being honest. It's okay to call out our own hypocrisy.
As Mr. Williams' prominence in the music industry rose.
Oh, and the last thing I'll say with that. Now, some people will say, well, they look at when shit like this happens, let's use this thug case, like, well, that's the streets. So you can't look at it as right or wrong because every action, there's a reaction. If somebody got killed here, it's probably because somebody got shot over there, and there, and that person got killed. And revenge, you know what I mean? If you look at a revenge, like, for example, like, say the duck situation, right? If you just look at that one singular incident, it says, damn, these guys from O Block are just murderers like scums. They're just thugs. But then if you look at it in the fact of most of these killings are just not random. They're retaliatory, ongoing beef, this, that, and then someone dies. And when that's not the only death there. One guy died here, another guy died here on the other side. And it's been, when you look at it like that, that's when some people say, well, if it's like that, I don't have too much of a stake in trying to promote that anybody goes to jail because street justice is taking care of it, right? And me, usually, I don't really give two fucks. Obviously, I love the artist. The only thing that, you know, when it becomes sad is when the parents show up. Now, obviously, Mama Duck in the O Block shit is a little bit different. Like, Mama Duck looked like she was with the shits too, right? But then when you see, like, the civilian mom show up like, yo, y'all killed my son, or say somebody got shot, you know, they just are a bystander and they got killed. Now it looks real fucked up. Anyway.
His ascension within or in leadership in the gang YSL became more apparent as he rapped and talked about the crimes that YSL.
Here we go.
There's then a series of calls between Dora, Greer, and Treadwell, and then Treadwell calls Demise McMullen or Nard.
Now, remember when I told you back in the day, I said, yo, Birdman got out of Atlanta and stopped that rich gang shit at the perfect time. He was so smart. You're going to hear them start making allegations with Birdman in this. Some of them that weren't charged, but some of them that were going to be fodder for the evidence that kind of loop in Jimmy Winfrey Roscoe, and Thug. Hear this.
All of those calls happened within 15 minutes of the 911 call. And as I have stated before, the calls happen. And then there's then a series of calls. And then immediately after that call, Mr. Williams calls his sister Dora Greer and then calls Kelvin Treadwell. There's then a series of itself.
Here we go.
The conflict between YSL and members of If Gang continued. Black and red Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon. And do for your mother and kids, I would have been killed you. 2020 in Lucci. Williams responded, slat, handle that. I got you. FASHO. I've been out the way and appreciate you for everything, my brother. Never about money with me. I'm built on loyalty. Mr. Williams responded, slat, handle that. I got you. Through text messages and on a separate occasion, Mr. Huey said and conveyed to Mr. Williams that he would sit down for any one of them. And I believe that to be a reference of going to jail. Back and forth shootings back in 2015. On February 9th, 2022, Rashawn Bennett was stabbed by Jaden Myrick at the Fulton County Jail. And after that stabbing, Mr. Myrick reached out multiple times to Mr. Adams for some type of compensation for the stabbing. Mr. Adams reached out to Mr. Garlington about the payment. 2022,
Here we go.
a shooting by a YSL associate Stephen Harris in YFN territory occurred. That's picturing him, Mr. Shamel Drinks, and Mr. Jasper Walters. Mr. Garlington and
Hold on.
also found was the machine gun with which the defendant has been charged in this indictment. This was subsequently arrested along with other YSL members. A lawyer was going to go and talk to another YSL associate, asking Mr. Williams to send him some money to pay his lawyer off. Mr. Williams assured him through his responses, SLAT, that he would take care of them. In May 2019, he got away with robberies. And what happened? A flyer to Marquavius Hewitt. I've been out the way. Mr. Bennett.
I'm trying to find the part where they talk about Birdman a few.
11th through March 14th, there were a number of social media posts going back and forth between members of YSL and YFN. Later, within this indictment, has been shown throughout the course of this trial. Asked Mr. Williams, do you have a star ring? Closing a sentence. I'm going to F for the cash. Then she getting robbed by Mr. Rashawn Bennett's home. Shootings at Mr. Darren Mills' mother's home. And I said Mr. Rashawn Bennett's mother's home. Shootings unrelated to the...
Yo, one thing I got to say about Young Thug and his homies, you diss him, your mama house getting shot up. Jesus Christ.
Conflict with members of If Gang, of a Lil Wayne tour bus.
Okay, here we go.
That shooting followed the confronting by Atlanta Police Department of members of YSL that drove to the compound where Lil Wayne was making an appearance and who drove there with the intent to disrupt and cause harm and to shoot up Lil Wayne's tour bus. Lil Wayne was another artist with whom Mr. Williams was having conflict, according to the testimony that had been presented. Mr. Williams had come out at that time with a mixtape that carried the name of an album that Mr. Carter was set to release and was not able to because his label would not allow that to happen. That caused a contractual or the threat of a lawsuit. It caused Mr. Williams angst. He posted about it. He said derogatory things about the persons who were threatening him with the lawsuit. And as a result, he had to rename his mixtape to something different than what he initially intended. The person who ultimately was convicted of shooting that tour bus up, Jimmy Winfrey, is a person that I believe that recordings have come in regarding jail phone calls, rather, from Mr. Winfrey and members of YSL regarding communication about getting a lawyer. Following the shootings that occurred in 2015, music, social media postings, indicted co-conspirators.
Okay, anyway. So that's pretty much, they try to bring up everything in the goddamn book, try to kind of contextualize what Young Thug has been doing, his lyrics. They're tying him to, yo, this guy's serious. They're basically saying these lyrics are no joke. When he's gotten into these quote-unquote issues back and forth with members of, music or other gangs, people get shot at. People's moms' houses got shot at. There's people who died. This isn't some shit where it's just Twitter beefing. Bullets are getting fired at buses, moms' houses, and there's people dead. Okay? And essentially, Young Thug's lawyer went to bat to try to defend him against all of those things with his own rebuttal.
Right, Mr. Steele or Mr. Adams, does the defense want to put anything on the record? Obviously, you need to make a recommendation
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Many of the statements made
I'm gonna speed this
by the
up.
prosecutor, we vehemently disagree with. The prosecutor misstated many pieces of evidence and then took liberty that that is the state's theory. Mr. Williams has tendered a nolo contendere plea to the RICO conspiracy count. And in that count, there are several overt acts. And the first one, Your Honor, deals with a traffic stop. It's on September 9th of 2013. And I won't go through every one because it might take a long time, but just for completeness for this, the court knows, Mr. Williams is driving a car. There is a dash cam video of the stop. The officer who testified at the trial 11 years later, the case was a gun was found under the passenger seat. Mr. Williams is not tied to the gun. He's not convicted of that. And the dash cam video that the officer said would have picked up sound as well as definitely video was never turned over to us, supposedly lost. Could not explain the loss. The armed robbery in another overt act of Mr. Dodson, D-O-D-S-O-N, has the following information. The state only, because we haven't called witnesses yet. So the state put up a man who said nothing except, I don't recall. And then they put in his prior recorded jail calls. That man was taken, his name is Mr. Bean, B-E-A-N. He was taken to Grady Hospital, and he was spoken with by a detective. The state vehemently accused me of lying.
All right, let's get to some of the things where he's gonna try to explain the I shot up your mommy's house and stuff like that.
Prethro's on my witness list as well as a detective, and I have the recordings.
Here we go.
Your Honor, what the evidence would really show if we kept going to trial, and I could tell you that Mr. Adams and I never thought we'd be in front of this honorable court. We always thought it would go all the way through trial. Was the state is saying that Rich Homie and Jeffrey Williams don't speak since the fall, and they have a bad relationship the fall of 2014. We would have shown, and we served on the state, December 15th, 2014, Jeffrey Williams in a private plane with Mr. Lamar, Rich Homie Quan, and they are high-fiving and laughing with each other. That is on audio video. There's a man who the state hasn't called yet, Mr. Martinez Arnold, also known as Duke. It's on the state's witness list. He's represented by the Honorable Ashley Merchant. He's on that plane as well. He would have identified the item, and he would have testified that Mr. Williams and Mr. Lamar were very close in December 2014. Then on December 29th of 2014, Mr. Williams, Mr. Rich Homie Quan, Mr. Arnold, others were at Brian Williams' home in Miami, Florida. There was a posting by Mr. Lamar, Rich Homie Quan, and a picture of Mr. Arnold and Mr. Lamar, and they said, Mr. Lamar says, this is my number one man, Duke, or something to that effect. We would have put that into evidence. In addition to that, Your Honor, on December 8th, 2 days before Mr. Thomas, God forbid, was killed, Mr. Williams is with Mr. Thomas, as well as Mr. Sledge and Brian Williams in Brian Williams' tour bus outside of a fabulous entertainer, artist, Mr. Clifford Harris, T.I.'s studio, and at that time, they were very close. But you also have the detective with the gang unit, Detective Underwood. I asked her within the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, did you do any, and she was on the gang unit the entire time, including today. And I asked her, do you have any evidence about Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas being close friends? And she said, yes, of course I knew that. I said, how about in January of 2015, close to time of Mr. Thomas's death? She said, yes, they were close friends. Mr. Michael Sprinkle, he's a deputy district attorney in the Fulton County DA's office. He has a recording with Mr. Treadwell. You've heard the name O.G. Bentley. And in that, they're going through the evidence. And Mr. Treadwell is important because he has a child, too, actually, with Mr. Thomas's sister. So he's family. And Mr. Sprinkle states this is 2018. This is after the rental car. This is after all of the interviews of Mr. Copeland. This is after the interviews of Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle's in some of those interviews with Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle on tape.
All right, let's go a little bit further
For him because there are all these people around Miami, and Mr. Williams stays at a separate location than any of those persons. He would always take people who can't afford it on airplanes, on buses, on tours, to his concerts. He let everyone go because, Your Honor, they never left that area. He wanted to show people you have an opportunity. The world is big. Mr. Williams gave jobs to everybody who'd want to work. He'd give them jobs and security, and I'm not insulting them. They really weren't their jobs, but they were being mentored, but they were given titles and tried to give them respect and opportunity. But if they did not wish to work, Mr. Williams would not allow them to work with them. This has all been turned on its head by the state. The fact that the state has put in Mr. Williams' lyrics are offensive. Mr. Williams has tens of thousands of recordings. On our witness list, we are bringing in all of his people, his recording artists, his engineers, his managers, his record label, and an expert, the Honorable Dr. Eric Nielsen, to talk about how Mr. Williams creates his music. His music is then changed around and merged. Mr. Williams, some of the lyrics you just heard are not even uttered by Mr. Williams. The state has no idea when these lyrics were made. Some of them were made before the shooting of Donovan Thomas that the state is saying this applies to the Donovan Thomas killing with the Tahoe. They are so far afield of where we need to be when we are trying to, God forbid, take somebody's liberty, Your Honor. The state is talking about things like F the judge and I rep my life for real. That's not even said by Mr. Williams. But they don't care to find out. They are on a tunnel vision to try to convict a man who should not be convicted. The statement about I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with that body. If the state just bothered to talk with anybody, that is a Nicki Minaj song with Jeffrey Williams. It is written by Nicki Minaj. That is on the text messages I gave, not the text message, the Instagram or Twitter rather, that I gave to the state. That is out well
good,
before this, but the state doesn't care. This is out.
You look at Thug. Thug like, damn, where you getting this shit from? This is good.
In 2015 or 16 or 17 or 18, I can't remember, I think 18, where Mr. Williams was asked who wrote Anybody, and his response is Anybody was written by Nicki Minaj, and it was. But it was really written and sung. It's a takeoff of a song by Tupac. There's a song that it parallels, which is an inspiration. But here we are with the state. Also, I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with the body. The next line comes up is it's a truancy body. The state can't explain that, so they just conveniently leave it out. Your Honor, there were wiretaps on this case. Mr. Williams, it was going to come out, there was an application to wiretap his phone. The state never presented it to a judge. That speaks volumes. The leader of the YSL criminal street gang, who's been involved from 2012 until his arrest, and even according to the state while we sit here, they never even tried to wiretap his phone. It might have been because they don't really know what his phone number is. So all these communications you're being told about with Mr. Huey, I'm not so sure the state could have gotten anybody to say that's Mr. Williams' phone. This is how the trial has gone for us. But we sit here for almost 2 years since we did our jury selection initiation on January 4th, 2023. Mr. Williams has been sitting in a jail since May 9th, 2022. This is 2.5 years waiting for the conclusion of the state's case and a verdict from the jury, and that's why he is tendering this plea. I'm telling the court this, and the court knows when you came out the first time, it's very hard for Mr. Williams. I am not supportive of what we're doing right now. I'm not against it. But I told Mr. Williams, you okay with me saying that? I told Mr. Williams that I think we're winning the trial and we should go to verdict. But he told me I can't wait another 3 months if there is any possibility I could go home because I have children that are hurting.
Damn.
I have things to do, and he has some medical issues that he would like to tend to. He eats out of a bag, Your Honor.
That nigga got a full balls. He needs draining. Mariah the Scientist, where you at, shorty?
He eats processed food only. He gained 75 pounds during trial. He's lost it since. But it is hard. You know, for me, it's only 3 more months. It's enjoyable, actually. I enjoy coming. It's not that enjoyable for Mr. Williams. He told me he wakes up. He wakes up every day, and it's another day in HE blank blank. Your Honor, the state is talking about, in this case, they put in social media. This honorable court was not here.
Okay, they're going to try to explain the beef with him and wife and Lucia when he says, if I ain't like what you do for your family, I would kill your mother. No, I would kill you, nigga.
But the state put in
Let me grab a soda.
that Mr. Williams, in the indictment, Mr. Williams put out a call for murder. He put $24 million murder for hire on a person's head. That is a lot of money, and that is awful. If they would have read the chat, the Instagram chat, Mr. Williams, right above it, there's a picture of a very well-known, very accomplished musical artist who actually had surgically implanted in his forehead a pink diamond worth $24 million that day. That's what Mr. Williams was talking about. That's the type of evidence that is coming from the state of Georgia in this case.
Damn.
It is wrong. This is all wrong. And I know we're pleading guilty, and I know we're pleading nolo, and I know we're asking this honorable court for a certain sentence, and we'll get to it with the court's permission. But this is the type of evidence that there is. But it is holding this man hostage And that's not really what we're supposed to do, district attorney time, in the state of Georgia or anywhere. The state then, because I opened on that, then they never bothered to put in all of the chats. Why did it take me to read the chats? In addition to that, going back to Donovan Thomas, talk about Mr. Williams involved, the state did a geofence. A geofence tracks his devices. It doesn't have to be a phone. It could be an iPad. It could be any type of electronic device that targets and is used. You don't have to be on the phone. It's the contact. If he has an app open, it'll capture it. And the state targeted the McDonald's, where they keep saying that Mr. Williams met with people there. They targeted the barbershop where, God forbid, the killing occurred. And they targeted a third location, no, 2 locations. And it comes out, Mr. Williams' devices are not there. It's exculpatory. I don't get that information. I got that because I interviewed Lieutenant Crabtree, and the results can't be found, according to prosecution. I did a motion for that. They just can't find it. That is great evidence for Mr. Williams. It would have also shown clearly that when he does go down from his house after getting this call that I'll talk about from Demise McMullen, he's not with these other people. And the expert for the state, the FBI agent who does the telephone analysis, Mr. Williams' phone does not ping off the same tower as a Demise McMullen or a Mr. Copeland.
Nah, this man working.
Or a Mr. Garlington or house. Okay. Mr. Williams opens up any of a car that he has, he'll rent cars for people, any home he has.
Of course, I rent mad cars. Who knows? Might be the car that kill a nigga, but who cares? Not this lawyer working.
He will allow people to live in hotels because people that he knows, unfortunately, are homeless. And he gives them all places to stay, cars to drive around. He is not involved in criminal activity. Mr. Williams just got back in our country. His passport shows it. Right before he was arrested on May 9th of 2022, there were other people in that house with the drugs and the guns. There are people whose the guns are in their names. They were going to come in court and claim the guns. Everybody else was doing as well, but Mr. Williams has entered a guilty plea. I'm not going back on that, but I just want you to know that this case is just wrong to do to somebody with no bond and to hold him hostage. He wants to, you may not do it. He's aware of that. He's aware of that. But the state offered him 15 years on probation. But they keep piling on these conditions. He just said, he made up his mind. He said, I'm just going to go with it. I got to get home. Judge may not let me home, but I'm not doing these conditions and admit that I'm the leader and I'm involved in the killing.
Oh, this guy's good, bro.
And my music just promoted everybody to do it. He's not going to do that. So he did not do that. And that's how we wound up here. The state, the night of the killing, people came to Mr. Williams' home. The state tells the court, he said, lay low. What they don't tell you is right after that, he gave money to Mr. Sledge, who said, they're going to kill me. They think I did it. And Mr. Williams said, if you had anything to do with it, I don't want to be with you. And Mr. Sledge said, I just need a hotel room with my children and my bride or my significant other to get to. And Mr. Williams said, be safe, lay low. That's the lay low. In addition to that, Mr. Williams told Mr. Copeland, Mr. Copeland's with the police. Hours after the killing of Mr. Donovan Thomas, Mr. Copeland goes to the police department. Mr. Williams is the person who told him to go. Mr. Copeland said, what do I do? They're shooting at my house, at my family's house, at my significant other's mother's house. And Mr. Williams said, if you had anything to do with the murder, get out of here. Mr. Copeland denied it. And Mr. Williams said, then go tell the police. Mr. Copeland said, you want me to go to the police? And Mr. Williams.
Chat, y'all believe that? Under that would be snitching, right? Young Thug tells his man, go to the cops. Go tell the cops they're shooting at you. What you? Nah, this lawyer's cooking. He cooking.
Said, if you had nothing to do with it, they think you did it. Go to the police. In addition to that, Mr. Copeland said, well, I'm going to retaliate. Mr. Williams told him, don't do that. Let 12 handle. That's on recordings. That is on recordings on.
Let 12 handle it.
January 11th of 2015 with Detective.
Yeah, I got a scratchy throat. That's why I'm drinking water. My bad.
Thorpe.
Usually drink liquor. Dedicated.
Your Honor, as far as Dwayne Carter, a performer known as Lil Wayne, Mr. Williams had no conflict with him. They are friends.
Not gonna lie. This is such great line, but this is how I want my lawyer to lie to me. Yo, as far as Lil Wayne, him and Young Thug were buddies. They were friends. Listen to this. This is the best line ever, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. You need a lawyer like this.
Carter, a performer known as Lil Wayne, Mr. Williams had no conflict with him. They are friends. We were presenting evidence that right before this shooting of the tour bus is April 26th of 2015. Mr. Williams is performing in New Orleans area. And that's the area where it's Holly Grove, where Mr. Carter, or Lil Wayne, formerly known as Lil Wayne, comes from. And in order to drum up popularity and interest, people get on the internet and they start what's called rap battles, arguments, feuds. That's what happened here, and you would have heard testimony from Mr. Williams' management that they said, start a rap battle. It'll be better for your career. Mr. Dwayne Carter is aware of that. Mr. Dwayne Carter's interview, the state's aware of this. He has interviews after this. Are you mad? What's the real deal with Jeffrey Williams? He states, no, he's great with me. He brought popularity to me. He loves me. He idolizes me, and I love working with him. They did an album together. In 2014, they're in the studio together, making music together. It is all made up that Mr. Williams is involved. Mr. Williams gives a statement. The state refuses to put it in and then stop me, the previous judge, from cross-examining the detective. His name is Racy. He met with Mr. Williams in the DeKalb County Jail on the 15th day of July 2015. Mr. Williams is arrested that day. And there's a long interview. And Mr. Williams waives his right to counsel. He tells them, I'm his lawyer. They say, you don't want to speak to us? You don't have to. He said, well, I'll speak with you. And they asked Mr. Williams these questions. What about Lil Wayne's shooting? He said, it was outrageous. I love him. That's my idol. I love Lil Wayne. How about this battle? He says it's promotion. They asked him about his rap lyrics. It's the only person that the state ever did anything about rap lyrics with. And they asked Mr. Williams, what about the rap lyrics? And he tells them, it's hyperbole. He didn't use that word. He used the word, it's made up. It's rhyming. It's made up. Not like the state is saying that I rap lyrics for real. That's not even Mr. Williams' utterance. Your Honor, the point I'm trying to make to you is what the state of Georgia has presented to this jury.
Nah, this is good.
In this courtroom, the past year has been full of untruths, and they know it. The state says that Mr. Williams had a conflict because he named an album with Dwayne Carter, and Dwayne Carter didn't like that. Dwayne Carter's interviewed. He said that was one of the nicest things anyone could have done to me. It shows how much he really appreciates me. It shows respect and honor, and I appreciate what he did. The state knows this. With regards to
Nah, this is good.
Jimmy Winfrey. What the state did is they put in a recording. It's not Mr. Williams. It's a jail recording, Mr. Winfrey and an unknown person. And an unknown person says, when you get out, you're going to get a Porsche and $250,000. Mr. Williams not privy to that. The state looked at all of Mr. Williams' bank records, everything. They undressed him financially. There's zero evidence Mr. Williams did anything for Mr. Winfrey. The state tells you that Mr. Winfrey asked for money for a lawyer. The conversation was, and it's recorded, it was with Mr. Williams' manager. And Jimmy Winfrey said, I need to show that I was gainfully employed for the court. Can you get me something from YSL? And the manager said, yeah, if we have it, and if it's true, yes, you can have it. That is it. There's no evidence that Mr. Williams paid for anybody's lawyer, Mr. Winfrey or otherwise. In addition to that, Your Honor, the social media postings with Mr. Rashawn Bennett, also known as...
If he could explain how Young Thug said, I'm going to kill you, this is the lawyer of the century.
YFN Lucy. So Mr. Williams, the state tells Mr. Bennett on social media, I would have killed you if I didn't like the way you take care of your mother and children. That is the...
Chat, there's no way you could explain this. Like, that shit was so wild. That was like one of them posts that says, lock me up and throw away the keys. No way you could explain that.
That is the post. What they don't tell you is Mr. Bennett, who is also, to his credit, trying to drum up his career. Mr. Bennett is picking on Mr. Williams, who's a much higher profile artist than Mr. Bennett at that time. And Mr. Bennett is saying that he slept with Mr. Williams' fiance,
Jericho,
while Mr. Williams and she are a significant couple, that Mr. Williams' music is awful. Nobody should listen to his music ever. Mr. Williams responds by saying, we can do an album together if you want. Stop this. The man continues of how he's sleeping with Mr. Williams' significant other, and then Mr. Williams responds by saying, I would have killed you except for what you do. That is the context that they don't tell you about. And Mr. Williams did nothing to Mr. Bennett. In fact, the evidence would have shown, if we had time or we would have gone forward, that Mr. Bennett and Mr. Williams are on the red carpet receiving awards in California, sitting right next to each other and taking photographs. This is...
Nah, this is good.
is not the Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams is a known person who is all over the place. If he did something, somebody wanted him, they can find him. This is not he is not hanging out on Cleveland Avenue. What the state is saying are not true. The situation with Mr. Bennett. So he's in the Fulton County Jail, and he's housed. And there are crazy, sick, violent people. And they're on the phone. And Mr. Myrick, M-Y-R-I-C, is calling other people, supposed co-conspirators. How much will Jeffrey Williams give? He doesn't say that, but that's the theme of it, as well as Christian Eppinger. What the state doesn't tell you is that when Mrs. Sumlin is asked, hey, find out how much Thug will pay me to kill Mr. YFN Lucci, Mr. Sumlin says, I don't know his number. I can't get in touch with him. He doesn't talk to me. And that's because, Your Honor, since 2015, and he means no insult, but Jeffrey Williams has had zero contact with Shannon Stillwell until this case.
Oh, shit.
Kenneth Copeland, Demekian Garlington.
Isn't Kenneth Copeland YSL Woody?
Justin Cobb, Demise McMullen, Mr. Sledge, Mr. Murphy.
Damn.
All these people. This is a lie. This is a 100% lie, and that's why we tendered a NOLO plea to being a leader of a criminal street gang. Mr. Williams is not a leader.
King Slime ain't no fucking leader. Y'all niggas trying to set him up. King Slime don't pull no shots. He's not the man behind the shadows. He don't get no niggas clipped. Fuck is y'all talking about?
In fact, if we're going to go forward, on Mr. Huey's phone, there are conversations with Mr. Copeland. And they both say how Jeffrey Williams is a zero and F him. And they don't talk to him, and Jeffrey Williams never does anything for them. Mr. Huey, Mr. Williams met later. He met him closer in the time of 2020. Mr. Huey's father went through a horrible episode that Mr. Williams knew, and that's how Mr. Williams knew his son, who's Mr. Huey. And Mr. Huey's on hard times, and Mr. Huey's making mistakes. And Mr. Huey, supposedly, Mr. Williams believes, armed robbed a man named Chandler Durham, D-U-R-H-A-M. Mr. Durham is Mr. Williams. He's a fabulous record engineer. And Mr. Williams states, give him back, tell him to give back the property or he's going to die. The state puts that as an overt act. No one dies. The property doesn't get returned. Mr. Huey ignores Mr. Williams. The state told you today that Jeffrey Williams sent Mr. Huey a posting that Mr. YFN Lucci is going to be performing on January 19, 2020. That's not true. Mr. Huey sent that to whoever phone that was. And all it says is slat and slatty. Well, I went out to the places that Mr. Bennett was supposed to perform. There's no shooting. There was no fight. There was nothing to report. There's nothing here. In addition, the state says the same thing on September 12th, September 2nd, 2022 on Mr. Huey's phone. I'm not conceding that was Jeffrey Williams even having a conversation with him, but even if it was, it doesn't show anything. It says slatty, lay low. Lay low means don't do anything. Get out of the way. That is what it is. That is Mr. Williams' role. Mr. Williams, there is evidence in the record, and there would have been more.
All right, now he's going to propose a sentence. Let's get to that.
Stores that Mr. Williams found about.
Here we go.
He went talent. He's not just a rap artist. In fact, when he's interviewed in 2017, he gives a statement and he says, I had to learn rap. He grew up in a house learning other forms of music. He likes all music, but rap hit in his community, and his community raised him. They supported him. They came out to him. They made him get into establishments. And once the establishment saw all the people come out, he got more establishments. And then he went out of that little area in Atlanta to other parts of Georgia and then to all the neighboring states and throughout our country. And he has performed on every continent but one. He has performed in front of being the headliner, 300,000 people at one time. He has a real life and career. He is not the leader. And he is not worried about buying jewelry that is stolen. Mr. Williams is actually innocent. I'm not trying to corrupt our plea. That's his plea, and he's entitled to it, and he wants it.
Okay. Anyway, it doesn't show that last part. Okay, so let's just go to. I know. Again, we missed the day of streaming it live, and some of y'all might have watched this without me. I just want to be meticulous because we did miss this whole day. So I want to play all the relevant parts, and the next relevant part is Young Thug giving a speech, and then we'll get to what the judge did. Okay. Also, There's another video that we could have played, which is that's another case. Here we go.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, let me just play this before. Sorry. So this is what
Mr. Williams opens up any of a car that he
here we go.
5 years in custody.
So this is what the his lawyer suggested the judge think of.
I mean, to interrupt you, I just...
No, it's fine. And Your Honor, I'll answer any of your questions, but the point I'm trying to make is 45 years to serve 25 years in prison when just...
So the prosecutors said that they wanted the judge to consider 45 years for Young Thug, with him serving 25 years in prison, which would have him on a 20-year probation after doing 25 years, right? Which means if we do the time adjustment, he would probably have to serve about 20 more years, right? So he would be in jail until about like 2045, right? And that was a stipulation. They also wanted, and I guess I should play that as well. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. Because I got to show you the judge, the prosecutor basically requesting the judge do all these crazy things. Hold on. Prosecutor, no. Okay, give me 1 second. Chat. I'm sorry. Prosecutor. I don't know if we got it. We probably don't have it.
The armed robbery.
Let me see.
I checked on that, Your Honor, with respect to count 1. As a co-conspirator, Mr. Williams is responsible for all of the acts of the other co-conspirators, the overt acts. The overt act of the murder of Donovan Thomas is one of those acts.
I know, and this trial is not complete, and so y'all have not yet proven that. Not to mention that you...
Responsible for all. Given that those negotiations have broken down, we are asking that the court sentence Mr. Williams as we have asked earlier. And prior to the court imposing a sentence, we would ask that Ms. Shawana Edmonds, who is the mother of Mr. Thomas, be allowed an opportunity.
Okay, she's not going to just say it directly. I'll tell you what they wanted. So they had offered Young Thug privately 15 years probation. You walk today, but shit ton of stipulations. Thug said no. Let the judge decide. Now that they're done with that negotiation, they said to the judge, I think you should give him 45 years, okay? This nigga just won't learn. 45 years, let him serve 20, right? Or serve 25 or whatever the case is. Seize all his cars, seize all of his property, seize all of his jewelry. Those will be held for compensatory restitution in terms of the damages that was caused by all of this YSL shit for the victims, and ban him from Atlanta. And there was a couple more other stipulations. There was a lot that was there. Actually, I think it's written out somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody on Twitter wrote it out. 45 years, seize the... Let me just look that up. Where it is. Fuck, I can't see it. Anyway, it was some wild ass plea. You feel what I'm saying? And essentially, that's when you had Brian Steele come back around and said, yo, judge, they're playing games. They offered us privately 15 years of probation and we walk home. Right? Also, the judge brings up, how do y'all want him to, why are y'all suggesting 45 when that murder hasn't been adjudicated? And no one has pled guilty for it yet. You get what I'm saying? And he wasn't charged with the murder. And actually, the other guys who were charged with murder, they didn't plead guilty to murder. So how is he taking? How can I punish him for a murder when we don't have any of the murderers? Even if you're saying he was responsible for the murder happening, how does that work? Anyway, and by the way, I think Yak Gotti. Actually, I don't know if Yak Gotti do have a murder on his thing. Okay, cool. So let's get to Young Thug's speech real quick. And I'm sorry for dragging this out, but again, we missed that whole day. Here's Young Thug's speech.
I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, you know. My managers, my kids that's not here. Really everybody that got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry for just like, you know, having so much time invested into this, you know, and I am a smart guy, I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart, you know. I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just nice or cool, you know, and I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height because it could end bad, and it don't really have to have nothing to do with you, but it could end bad and it could, you know, fall on you. And I know the choice is yours, it's up to you, and I hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's at a, you know, bar in the future or something. Just out of this type of situation, I promise you I won't ever be in this type of situation again. I'm going away. I've learned from my mistakes. You know, I come from nothing and I've made something and I didn't take full advantage of it. I'm sorry. Through these last 2.5 years of my life, you are really, truly, honestly, the best thing that has happened to me because you made everything fair.
Get them tears, my boy. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Get them tears, my boy. Let's get it. Let's get it.
For me and everybody involved on both sides, you know.
Yo, the judge right now, her pussy wet. She's like, oh shit. That judge. Yo, that judge fuck with niggas. Come on. We know what it is. This is Atlanta. You know what it is.
I'm sorry to the sheriff, you know, everybody for just having to put extra time in. I know y'all got paid more money, but
Oh shit. Nigga got jokes. I know y'all got paid more money.
I'm sorry for y'all having to put this extra time in to be away from y'all family, you know, and I just hope that you find it in your heart to allow me to go home and be with my family and just do better as a person. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I am. I know the heights I've reached. I know the impact I got on people, period, in the community, you know, all people. I learned that late, like these past 2 or 3 years of my life, I kind of learned that late. And maybe it was because I was, you know, probably on drugs or anything, I don't know. But I have came to my senses and I understand what I mean to this world. But I am a good guy, you know. I don't mind doing stuff like, you know, like free shows, and I always did that. You know, I did free shows and gave it to single parents, millions of dollars. You know, I made $1.8 million on a free show, and I gave it all to single parent charity. And I did like 2 or 3 shows that made like $700,000 a piece, and I gave it to the breast cancer organization. Like, you know, I do things like I put millions of dollars back into my community for real. I really did. I did more than anybody ever did from my side, you know. But I understand, you know, rap lyrics. I understand how it could be twisted. I understand what it could do to the mind of people. I understand all that, and I promise you I'm 100% changing that. You know, it's just, I'm older, I'm grown now, you know, and it's just like, I'm smarter. It's more things to rap about. Like I've experienced a lot of good things. I experienced more bad things, but I experienced a lot of good things too. And
Yo, they said, all right, hold on.
Anyway, I can go forever.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you do realize how much of an impact you have on people. I mean, it's past your neighborhood. It's worldwide, especially young people. And having come up from where you came up from and living in and around that, you know that gangs are damaging to our community. And it may be that a whole lot of rap music and the rap industry is, I mean, honestly, it sounds like a modern day version of kind of WWE wrestling that used to be on television, where people would just get up and posture and act like they hated each other. And it may be that that's a lot of what is going on in the music industry with rap. But whether it is fake or not, it has tremendous impact on kids and young people who think, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Look at him, he's a millionaire. I can do that by being, you know, a gangster in the streets. And that's not true. What you're likely to have happen to you if you're a gangster in the streets is you get shot, you get killed, or you get thrown in prison. And those are, you know, by far the most likely outcomes. And, you know, you've been in here watching the trial, and you've seen the pictures of Mr. Ryan posing with a gun as big as he is at 15 years old and going out and shooting and killing another teenager. And that's what gangs do, and that's unfortunately a lot of what rap music does. And if you are a modern day John Lennon, you know, I mean, he might have rapped too in this day and age. I don't know, but I know you're
The judge got some jokes. Ah, man.
talented, and
Yo, I'm telling you, man, the judge was fucking with that bar to 6, man. The bar to 6 bumming. Listen, man, this is what the judge is bumping on the way to court, man. Come on, man.
The cooler like Akon. Fuck all the bullshit. Got the 6 coming. The bar to 6 coming, yeah. The bar to 6 bumming. The bar to 6 bumming, yeah.
Come on, man.
And even if you choose to continue to rap, you need to try to use your influence to let kids know that that is not the way to go, and that there are ways out of poverty besides hooking up with the powerful guy at the end of the street selling drugs. And, you know, I know that happens for protection sometimes, but a much better way would be getting an education and setting, you know, hanging around with people who set a good example. And you be one of those people that sets a good example. I mean, all right, so that's my high horse on that. I could also go on. But I want you to try to be more of the solution and less of the problem. All right? All right, so it is not lost on the court that the state, had they been able to come to agreement on certain special conditions, was willing to entirely dismiss the RICO count, was willing to entirely dismiss one of the gang counts, and was willing to entirely dismiss this, you know, machine gun count. Was willing to give a sentence that permitted Mr. Williams to walk out of the door today, and therefore does not seem to be particularly worried that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society. I'm taking that into consideration and crafting my sentence. And in permitting a nolo plea to the RICO count and one of the 2 gang counts, I would not be permitting the nolo to the one if you were not pleading guilty to at least one of them. But you are, and y'all admit a factual basis for the counts that you are pleading guilty to. I find there.
It's kind of funny. She actually earlier said she was permitting the NOLO to both. So both count 1 and 56, which is both some criminal street gang thing. Now she kind of stepped back off of it by saying, because they were going to keep it real, Thug, yo, this judge is mad sympathetic to Thug. She fucks with Thug heavy. And probably, you know, maybe it's not even about Thug. Maybe it's just she really don't like this chick. Like, she is so sick and tired of this prosecutor Like, I think she's just saying fuck y'all, like just directly. Because again, she was opening at first. She was like, "I'm cool with tendering, I'm cool with your tender of NOLO to both of those big charges." Now she's amended it to say, "All right, well, plead guilty to one, NOLO to the first." And the one that they pled guilty to doesn't have him in the leadership role. It just said that he was doing gang shit, right? Now, if he ain't slapped nobody, if he ain't do nothing, they can't pin it on him saying he instructed people too, because he pled NOLO to that charge.
To be a factual basis for those counts, and for the remaining counts
He pled
with
guilty.
which you are charged, I am going to impose a sentence,
Here we go.
and I've taken a little bit of the.
Oh shit! I gotta go to the other video. This shit's ended. My bad. Here we go. The judge. Here we go.
I appreciate that you do realize how much of an impact
Hold on.
getting an education streets is. You get shot, you get killed, act like that. I mean, all right, so that's my high horse. I'm afraid that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society. I'm taking that into consideration in crafting my sentence.
Okay. Let me go a little further.
That's permitted on that count. It is required to be run consecutively. I'm going to run it consecutive to count one, but I am going to backload. Oh, I'm sorry. That is not commuted. That is 5 years to serve, and it's going to be run consecutively to count one, backloaded, by which I mean after you serve your 15 years of probation. If you have been successful on that probation, and I sincerely hope that you are, then at the end of that 15 years, I will commute the entire rest of any service portion of your sentence to time served. So I'll get to the end of it and give you the total sentence. But I'm also going to impose a $15,000 fine with regard to that count. Count 57. 20 years to serve 5, commuted to time served. The balance of 15 years probated, concurrent with count 1. Count 58, 10 years to serve 5, commuted to time served. Balance probated, concurrent with count 1. 59, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. 60, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. Count 61, 5 years to serve. That is required to be also a consecutive sentence, so that's going to be run consecutively to count 56 and backloaded. Count 62, 10 years to serve, also required to be served consecutively. That's going to be consecutive to count 61, also backloaded. So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed then by the backloaded 20 years, which can be served in custody and will be served in custody if you are not successful on your probation. If you are successful in completing your 15 years probation, that will be commuted to time served. You are to remain on reporting status for the first half of your probation, active reporting for the first 7.5 years of your probation, and that is pursuant to OCGA 17-10-1, subsection 2, A2A. And Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, in order to keep him on reporting status, there needs to be good cause shown. We all concede that good cause is shown here?
Stipulate.
All right, I appreciate that. Special conditions of your probation.
What good cause? What do they mean?
Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Sure.
Like the judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You had enough time to talk with your attorneys?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Brian still got it, man.
All right, special conditions of your probation. After 48 hours from your release, you are to stay away from the metro Atlanta area, and that's
Y'all can't ban King Slime from Atlanta. What? So after 48 hours, King Slime is no longer permitted on Cleveland? What?
defined by the U.S. Census Bureau. It may change, but you can look that up anytime to figure out what that is. For the first 10 years of your probation, subject to the follow what that is, Census Bureau, it may change.
So it's Metro Atlanta, and she made sure to say Metro Atlanta because it holds a significance. Metro Atlanta area. I think that might just come up with a map. Oh, there's 5 counties. Okay, so he's banned from more than Atlanta. So the Metro Atlanta area, and that's why she said by the U.S. Census Standard Bureau, which could change. So the city of Atlanta, we have Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Roswell, Marietta. Other places are Athens in Clark County, Gainesville, LaGrange, Rome, Jefferson, Calhoun, Cornelia, Cedartown, or Thomaston. Okay. Okay. That's a lot of people that live there. So there's 6 million people that live in the. Oh, well, this says Sandy Springs. It says Metro Atlanta, though. Let's see. The Metro Atlanta designated by the U.S. United States of Office Management Budget is known as it's known as this area. Okay. So, okay. So, damn, it's a lot of places. He basically got to move out of Georgia, essentially, right? You got to move out of Georgia, damn near. Fayetteville can't live there. Yeah, it's mad kids. Okay, so he can't live in Fulton County, Gwinnett County, can't live in Cobb County, can't live in DeKalb County.
So why is so Woody? You feel me? Him and Charleston White recently fell out for probably, you feel me, some of the most dumb reasons. Why so Wade doesn't like how Charleston White is portraying him, and you know how Charleston White is, so he went off on Woody. They reminded me so much of each other. I thought they'd be cool, but you know, when you're too close to somebody or you're just like somebody, it never works well. Never, ever works well. So, man, I don't know if I want to say pray for peace or pray for what, but man, it's a crazy world we live in, man.